But the caveat in how to circumvent the whole thing is that the United States Coast Guard is exempt from posse comitatus. And the Coast Guard is now under who? Homeland Security.
Right.
Wow, I think they just circumvented the whole process. So
I never understood. Understood it.
We'll see where the chips fall on that one.
Wow.
You know, the state police here come and help us if and when we need it. If they come down here and take over, I'm going to be upset. I'm not going to stand for it unless they change the Constitution and those laws. They have the federal agencies come in here and take over, I'll be just as upset. Until the sheriff's position changes in legally, I took the oath to stand up, and I expect to do that. I'm not going to have some other outside agency come in here and take over law enforcement unless legally I'm removed from that position or the voters vote me out. Then it's a non-issue. I do not believe in police state. I do not believe in some other agency stepping in here, and I don't care if it's the feds or who it is. The UN. No,
yeah.
Absolutely not.
So do you feel that you know, with the Department of Homeland Security, a lot of things have been put into place, such as during an emergency, you know, then they say that they can bring in the military, you know, but then the military or the emergencies are anywhere from from a hurricane to tornado to civil unrest. You know, so it's...
Some of that concerns me. I would like to think that it's a benevolent concept in that if we can't handle it at this level with the resources we have, that we can count on an outside source coming in to help us, not to take over, as long as it's clearly defined. They came to help us. I don't have a problem with that. As long as they follow the policies and rules and regulations and the things that we do, and doing it in the way that it's prescribed under Oregon statute. I don't have a problem with that at all. In fact, I welcome that help. So don't misunderstand me. There's good, and then there's the other evil side of this, possibly, that obviously is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
In that they just come in and say, well, we're here, it's ours, goodbye, you know, and we'll take over. No, I'll resist that. I won't tolerate.
So have you heard anything about the Department of Homeland Security kind of recruiting the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts of America? About a few months back, there was an article in the New York Times, and it had Boy Scouts, with guns, doing mock drills on how to detain disgruntled veterans in the United States, and this was under the Department of Homeland Security. It's really, I mean, it was really scary. I saw this article, and I was like, it just reminded me of like Nazi Germany or something. It was just crazy.
I don't know. I temper my thinking based on logic and kind of show me what you're talking about.
Right.
I'm not saying that didn't happen. Nothing would surprise me with the government as it stands today, but I find that hard to believe.
It's hard for me to believe when I read this legislation too. I read it and I don't want to believe it. I'm like, am I not reading this right? You know.
And I've faced that myself in reading some of the things I'm reading. I'm going, are they really seeing what I'm interpreting this to mean? And that concerns me. But no, I'm not. I don't believe engaging. I don't believe engaging that kind of activity.
Right. Yeah, it concerned me when I saw that.
If push comes to shove, I expect reasonable thinking people that want to stand up and help support this community in tough times. I welcome that, but again, I'd be very, very cautious in that they had the training necessary to do the job. They followed instructions, and they weren't wild, crazy people that would get us all in trouble.
Right.
I mean, you got to use good common sense.
That's correct. Let's see. I think we kind of covered what the oath means to you. You talked about that earlier. How do you feel about I mean, do we have fusion centers here in Oregon?
We do, and I think they're pretty much all over the United States. Fusion cells are good. I was in charge of it was actually a covert fusion cell, intel cell, overseas. They can be very good, depending on what you do with the information. You know, it can be very beneficial. If I would like to know, for example, if I had a terrorist
Right.
or a terrorist group operating in this area, you know, the fusion cells are on top of that kind of thing, so there's good information that comes from them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not against them by any means. I mean, it's a means of sharing intel, information that could be detrimental to the people of this community.
Right.
And my concern is only the people. I say that with a caveat. You know, I don't want to see anybody get injured, but my responsibility is to the people in this county.
Right.
And, you know, whatever it takes to protect those people, you know, I'm interested in hearing about.
So you haven't had any similar reports like the Mayak report?
No.
Okay, good.
No,
That's good.
The information that I've received from our fusion cells has been very down to earth, pragmatic. You know, it's not sent out as an alarmist kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
At least we haven't received anything to that level. There's been nothing from our fusion cells that would indicate that they're up to any covert activities by any means. They've been providing good information, and most of it's relative to somewhere else. It's, you know, but at least it keeps us informed of what's happening in other states and so forth. So, and that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Trends develop. You know, I before you turn the camera on, I started to talk about meeting all these different groups in just this county alone. In fact, we now just a week ago had a meeting with people from other counties that are all concerned about the government, where it's going, the encroachment of federal levels, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a common theme that's coming from that. You know, I need to be a part of those groups. I want to know what's going on in this community,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can maintain some semblance of safety here.
Mm-hmm. That's why we're doing what we're doing, is because we want to reach out to local law enforcement and know that, you know, not only you know, are we behind you, but, you know, we're here too, you know, as a community to help out in any, you know, especially in times like this. I mean, we're really living in some seriously
We're living in some interesting times.
Yeah, we are.
And it's really kind of up in the air as to what will happen. You know, I went over to Bosnia and Kosovo, and had there been jobs there, what happened wouldn't have occurred. I mean, it's a corrupt government. There was no question about it. But nobody had jobs either.
Mm-hmm.
And people are going to support their families any way they can. So they turn to nefarious activities, which then killing people is acceptable, stealing from them, blah, blah, blah. Could that happen here? Quite frankly, leaving here for those years that I was gone, I looked back at the United States and I saw it from a different perspective. The economy is pretty much the carpet on which we stand. And if somebody pulls that carpet out from under you, I don't care how strong you think you are,
Mm-hmm.
your country's going to collapse. And I think we're approaching that. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I hope it never happens.
Mm-hmm.
But people need to start thinking about it. You need to bring jobs back here to this country. You know, I'm going to say something that's really unpopular here, but I think unions have outlived their usefulness. There are federal laws on the books today that make it very difficult to violate an employee. Do we need the unions to drive the cost up to such levels that now it became cheaper to send the jobs overseas?
Right.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of issues. You need jobs here. The unions need to kind of rein themselves in and grab some attorney by the collar and shake him a little bit.
And we pretty much have no industry here anymore. It's all been offshore.
Yeah.
Everything.
And we need tort reform. Why is the, you know, we're really branching into a whole bunch of areas here, and it's probably not what you care to hear.
No, I do.
But it's all feeding into wake up, America, wake up. You people over in Washington D.C. that get together, we're not happy.